Detroit Become Human. Here's what it's like in the office for everybody is I feel like there's a lot of whispering and murmuring about like, you won't believe some of the stuff in Detroit Become Human. It gets weird. It's exactly as David Cage used to imagine it. But Kim, I don't know overall your thoughts on the game. Like, how is Detroit Become Human?
It is much better than Beyond.
Really? Wow.
The thing with it is it's a really engrossing game. Like, you get captivated by it very quickly. And it starts off pretty normal, as does, and then you go on more further through the game, and it falls into typical problems that we've had with David Cage games, which is just that there's plot holes, there's stuff that's unexplained, but what's amazing about it is, like I said, the scope of choice and how much they rewrote different scenes. And like I was talking to Joe this morning, and certain things I got he didn't see, and vice versa. And I replayed the game twice, and then also like did 4 times on the ending just to see all the different variations. And there's so many different things that you can end up with. And what I liked about it most, I think, is so you're playing from the point of view of like 3 androids. So you are the machine, whatever,
As Arnold said in Terminator 3.
Yeah. And each one is paired up with like another character. So you have like Kara, who's taking care of a little girl. So it's very Clementine-esque in the way that you want to, for me anyways, like I wanted to set a good example for her, but there are times when you just have to do bad things, things that aren't always the nicest option, which aren't always going to please her. So you're building that relationship. You also have Connor, who is a deviant hunter. So he hunts his own kind. He was made to do this. And his
deviant
partner,
hunter, Matt Helgeson, they call him.
Wow. So is an android that hunts other androids?
Yes.
What else would you call that?
That's a really unique concept.
Part of the premise of the story is that the idea is that it's that humans now have androids as essentially like slave labor.
Yeah.
Sure.
So it's just these robots, treated like objects and not like living things. So the problem that they run into is that some of these androids have started going deviant.
What?
Yeah. So they're
developing a consciousness?
Feeling emotions and acting out. And,
can we just talk about the elephant in the room here? Because like literally everything you saw is like, Blade Runner, iRobot.
Oh, it's not a unique. It's
like,
not a unique concept. People abusing technology.
Somehow overcome this, like somewhat derivative, let's say, to be kind, sci-fi plotline.
I think that in the ways it overcomes is in the ways that it presents the characters, but not necessarily the situations. Okay. The situations are anything that you've seen in any of those things before, but add a super heavy-handed and artless parallel between the civil rights movement,
which I didn't love about it.
And there's a lot of that throughout the entire game. It's like a big beat.
It's there and it's not. And funny enough, playing again, there were some parts that are like really heavy-handed that I didn't see. But so some people might play through it and not get as many references, but it's still there. It's very much there.
The buses have a special compartment in the back for androids.
Oof.
Yeah.
It is not subtle.
Well, look, I don't even...
He's not a subtle writer.
That's exactly it. Like, if that concept, like, somebody could do something interesting with it, but with just that ham-fisted dialogue that I know and kind of love from some previous David Cage stuff, is that just ultimately what deflates the entire premise a little bit? Or, Joe, you mentioned, like, the character moments.
That's what I was trying to talk about before, is that the pairings of these characters and what they go through are just really intriguing in general. Because, like, even, like, with Connor, who hunts his own kind, he's got Hank, a police detective he's with, who just hates machines. And you'll find out if you befriend him enough why that is. But
I bet you could guess without even playing 1 second of the game.
But they have a good love-hate relationship thing going on. More hate than love on Hank's side, but he's kind of a drunk dealing with a lot of stuff.
Hank, by the way, who is played by actor Clancy Brown.
Yes.
Which is awesome.
All right,
and he's one of the best performances in the game. Like, I have to give him a shout out for that. Like, he did good. Everybody did really well. Like, Kara is, I can't remember her name. I knew I was going to do
Valerie Curry.
Thank you. Valerie Curry does a really good job.
They also, in a totally brilliant move, have cast Lance Henriksen in a game about androids as a human.
Quiz! See, you guys, it's not entirely predictable. Come on, everybody.
Yeah. Yeah, it's basically what you've expect from a David Cage game, right? You're gonna have chase scenes, you're gonna have investigations,
quick time events.
You have many a lot of fights, dialogue options, and making different choices to go down different paths. So sometimes,
can I ask? Because I did do a little homework, so I know there's this like kind of flow chart thing that basically shows you, I guess,
all
opportunities that you missed, or different ways that you could have gone down the path. Was that? I was a little torn when I read about it because I was like, it almost kind of demystifies the experience, but maybe it's cool. Maybe it means you see more of it. I don't know.
He said he did that because you wouldn't quite believe it unless you didn't see all the variations. And I kind of agree with that. I wouldn't have gone back and looked at different parts or different scenes without having that huge branching path. I will say this, they start off pretty small and then everything kind of leads up into the ending, and it's really a mix of how you build your relationships and certain choices that you make throughout with how like rebellious or pacifist you're going to be in this.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Joe, what do you think of it in general?
The game or the flowchart?
The game.
Okay. Well, the flowchart is one of the things that I have the strongest opinion on, actually.
Okay.
Because like I really do not like it.
Really? I love it.
What I don't like about it is the idea that a lot of the fun of these, I mean, like before the show, Kim and I were upstairs talking about like, okay, what happened for you? What happened for you? And a lot of the fun of these kinds of games, of the choice-driven games, are sort of the like ownership over your narrative. But every time you finish a chapter, it shows you the flowchart for that chapter. So you know, like, oh, this was where a branch was, this was where a branch was, something different might have happened there. So like Matt said, it sort of demystifies that to the point that for me, my playthrough felt less like a series of events that I had ownership over and more of just this sort of like cloud of possibilities that I just took one path through.
But you could just click the X button and not look at it if you don't want to.
But you can just close it right away. Yeah, but it is like a default popping up on screen.
It shows you what other people picked. It's like, I think it's interesting because I like to see how many variations in path. Like if I miss something in a scene, I kind of want to know, what did I miss there? What didn't I get? You know?
I like doing that after I finish a game, right? Like after I finish Mass Effect, I want to go back and play and like try it again.
But this has so many choices compared to Mass Effect that there's no way you'd have a gigantic thing at the end.
What I'm saying is, I think that it's good to have the flowcharts that you can see for each chapter. I think it's a mistake to surface them as soon as you finish a chapter so everyone sees what might have happened, because I think it encourages that sense of like, oh, that didn't, like no matter how much the developers say, oh, just stick with your choices and do it like just play through once normally. I think it encourages you to like feel like you've missed something. And
well, you are going to miss something no matter what.
Right.
There's so many variations.
I think it encourages you to like be like, oh, maybe I should just redo that because that clearly did not go the way I wanted to. Or you see that there's a much longer chart somewhere and it's like, oh, I bet that was the better ending. I should probably go and do that.
But some people like the option to redo it if they, realized, that's not exactly the direction I want to go. Like, and the good thing about this is you can reload your save from each chapter and replay it, and it'll save into your narrative. So if you just totally screw up, and I mean, sometimes, as Joe says, own your choices. I'm glad I didn't own some of my choices in this. I was just like not completely like, I was playing through it twice fast for review and I was like, I should have played that scene out a little differently.
So you did some horrific stuff in front of the little
I had
girl,
a really horrible ending. Joe had a good ending. I went back and refixed all my mistakes and it was beautiful. So I wouldn't have known about that without the flow.
Can I ask a question about the writing? Is it quirkily mediocre or terrible?
I will say what I like.
Because that's kind of the range.
Yeah, I will say what David Cage does very well is those little moments, those little interactions between characters, the dialogue between them. And then when you scope out into the bigger story and all the threads, you kind of get lost because he goes and focuses on so many different things and then doesn't give you satisfying answers or any answers on how certain things happen. So there are plot holes, just like Heavy Rain had plot holes here.
Beyond Two Souls is rock solid, though. Like, I didn't understand.
Yeah, I didn't know what was going on entirely there.
Does any character do an android, do they sing a Beck song? Tenderly sing a Beck song?
Well, there is a homeless man who sings. It's not a Beck song. It's close.
Oh, that's close.
There's also something that will involves singing. I will just say that.
Ooh, singing robots.
Possibly with your choices. That's what I got to say. What I think deserves like praise here is just how much there is with choice and the variations. And if you can write a different scene so many different ways, because one thing that he had said is that you really have to commit to it. And most developers don't want to take the time to rewrite scenes, to change this. And everybody's been asking, make my choices matter, make them matter somehow. And it's not so clear cut, but then you come down to some of them just being really black or white choices, which I didn't really like either, because there's no like shades of gray variation. You know, it's like, do you want to be good here or bad? And like it goes a little bit towards like not bad but rebellious rather, and it goes either way. And like Marcus's arc is actually the one I had the most problems with.
And he's like
he's
agent?
The one, he's leading the android rebellion. Okay. His arc starts off really promising. Like he has this cool old guy Carl who owns him, who's sick, and he takes care of him. And Carl's a cool guy. He wants him to be his own person per se. We'll put it that way. But then he just goes off on this thing, and his choices become, like I said, very cut and dried one way or another. And even like the speeches he delivers just feel very speeches you've heard before. Maybe something like "I have a dream."
No.
Are you kidding me?
Not word for word,
but yeah, he goes, "I have a dream for like," and be like, it just.
I was wondering if Android's dream. I didn't remember.
Is there any?
There's so many parallels to the civil rights movement.
Okay.
Any creepiness? Any creepy where you're like, dude, what are you doing?
I was
because that's another thing I
was surprised at how the sexual angle of this was handled.
Really?
In the sense of like, I mean,
because when I saw this game, I was like, somebody's having sex with an android.
Yeah,
that was like the first thing.
Yeah. There's definitely plenty there.
That's what I thought.
For you to uncover about that. And it's realistic.
There's an android brothel, but it does. Like, I don't know. I guess I don't think I saw any nudity in my playthrough. Like, it doesn't feel like, hey, let's take this character's top off for no reason.
Okay.
Yeah, there's no awkward sex scenes, if that's what you're asking, a la Heavy Rain. No, that's. But I will say this: that stuff, like I said, that stuff didn't bother me because I think that's a world that is a potential for us right now. People are talking about their robots and. You know, I don't want to get into that
all
part.
Have body pillows already.
I will say what was hard for me was some of the abuse scenes, just because they're very the game, and there's other issues too that the game tackles or stuff that's just very dark. Some of the paths you can go down and some of the things that happen, and like, while I think the scenes like do their justice and definitely show like this is motivation for this character, this is why, all of a sudden it becomes like every character wants the worst possible thing for you at certain moments.
Was it just disturbing or just?
Yeah, I mean, it's disturbing. It puts you in a situation like, what would you do kind of thing, watching something like that in front of you. But to say the least, like, I don't think those topics are like exempt from being explored in games.
Definitely not.
No.
Yeah, I definitely think that they need to be handled with care, and I think they did for the most part, but sometimes they just felt a little over the top, or like I've seen like after school specially kind of like.
Yeah. I mean, I think that Cage in general has the ambition and pretension in some ways to like deal with serious subjects in games that maybe exceeds his ability as a writer or a conceptual artist, in my view. You know what I mean? I think that there's definitely people that have come up after him in indie games that have done a much better job in a more like subtle and real way of like dealing with serious issues like that.
I think that's too what bothers me with like him not being subtle about his parallels to like the civil rights movement. You didn't even need it. Like, you can draw those conclusions yourself that like people are going to take advantage of owning a machine. It's like, it's a very possible thing, that we're going to have to see in the future. How our relationship our technology goes. It just feels like it's there and it doesn't serve any other purpose than to be like, look at this parallel. Look at.
Did you ever think about this? Yes, we did about 15 years ago.
It's just, that's what I'll say about it.
Yeah. What score did you land on for this game?
An 8.
An 8. The old David Cage flat 8. Cool.
Flat
PS4 exclusive. There we go. That was just a clip from a larger show called The Game Informer Show. You can find it on iTunes, Google Play, or GameInformer.com. We take the fun opportunities and exclusive information from Game Informer magazine and boil it into a show that airs every Thursday with exclusive cover story information, developer interviews, a lot of fun stuff. So come love games with us.